Back to the Experience Pros Radio Show. Angel Tassi, Eric Raymer hanging out with you. Actually, Angel is a little under the weather today, so you've got me and I need you. If you want to call in and join the conversation, the number 303-632-4160, 303-632-4160. We're going to continue our conversation about lessons that I learned from the beach and came across another website that, like me, found that there's a lot of parallels to the experience of being on the beach that you can apply to your business. And, you know, so many times we look around and at the world and we think that stuff happens to us, right? That we're just the tiny little thing on the map of life, and things happen to us, where a little bit of time in the beach might actually clarify some things for you. And one of them is even the tiniest element can be unbelievably powerful. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about here. Sand, right? You guys all know what sand is, right? From sand, we learn how we find our place in the world. A single grain of sand, or a single person for that matter, may seem like we don't amount to a whole lot until you start thinking about what happens when we put one piece of sand with another piece of sand and then another piece of sand. And before you know it, all these pieces of sand working together are now what we call a beach. Now, what happens later? Well, you know that when sand gets superheated, it turns to glass. So we have a transformation that takes place. But even the one piece of sand, would you notice if you had a single piece of sand, a single grain of sand, would you notice if you were eating a sandwich and that one piece of grain of sand got into your sandwich and you took a great big bite, would you notice that grain of sand? You bet you would, right? So what we can learn from the sand is that, you know, we may be small, but we have an impact, and together we can actually change the world. Things we've learned from the beach. Here's another one. When I was a kid, I used to surf, and I enjoyed surfing, especially during my college years. And it might come easier to others, to some than others, but surfing can teach you several different valuable life lessons. According to the website, theodysseyonline.com, says learning to surf shows how some things take practice and perseverance. Balance doesn't come natural when you're on a board that is moving along with the unpredictable nature of the beach, right? So even though it might not be easy, there's a lot of aspects of life that are hard. But what do? Do we quit because they're hard? Oh, no. No, we get back up. Just like I told you, one of my mentors my dad and one of my mentors said, if a wave knocks you down, you get right back up. You get on there, right? So more often than not, the reward is worth the effort, and there's no greater thrill than catching your first wave and quickly coming to your feet after hours of trying. There is a point when you're working on it and you're working on it and you're working on it, and every time you try to get up, you fall over. And every time you try to get up, you fall over. You fall over. And then all of a sudden, as if by magic, you get up, you balance, you ride that wave, and you come all the way in. How cool is that? That's why we do it, because there's an opportunity for success. And when we jump into that, I see the parallels in such strong ways with business, with personal activities. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep working on it. Here's another one. Let's talk a little bit about the motion to the ocean, if you will, those waves, right? We know that the waves are connected to the moon, and the moon has some kind of a gravitational draw to the cycle of the waves. I was talking to my friend Robert over last week while we were out at the beach, and he says, I've realized that body of water is more powerful than I am. It's one of the most powerful, misunderstood, not understood elements of life. And therefore, he's not a big fan of jumping into that, right? I I love it. I love it for its strength. I love it for its power. I love the fact that we can that we can harness that power and use it to achieve whatever it is, maybe surfing or sailing or whatever it might be, right? So I love it. The ocean and life are full of surprises, but the greatest lesson that the waves can teach you is that no matter how bad life might seem, the waves will always keep crashing and life always goes on. Let's talk about seashells for just a minute. You're walking along the beach, maybe after a big storm, and the seashells are just everywhere, right? The waves have brought these creatures that normally stay in the depths, but because of the storm, they brought them up to the sand line and left these seashells here. And you might pick one up and you go, man, that is really beautiful. But then you start to notice, you know what? It's broken. It's broken. And how many times, sand dollars or starfish, same kind of a thing. And then you look at it and say, wait a minute. It's beautiful just the way that it is. And you can learn something from that in your own life. A shell can teach you a valuable lesson. Perfection, that's not really what you're after. What we're after is the beauty being in the eye of the beholder. Okay. How about fishing? Going fishing, so says the Odyssey Online, can teach the value of working for something. I agree with this, right? What's the old saying? Bring a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, and he eats for a lifetime. Okay. So working for something in a real world that has access to almost anything at the touch of a button, fishing reminds us that the user, it reminds the user that not everything comes without effort. How many of you do you know? How many of you maybe are guilty of thinking, well, gosh, I should be able to do this, should be easy. That person makes it look easy in business. Why can't it be easy for me? And you kind of gripe a little bit about how it's not easy. Well, I don't know about you, but the rule, rather than the exception to the rule is anything that appears to be easy has taken lots of work to earn and to build and develop. So it's just, I don't know anything that comes free in life. How about the depth of the ocean? Does that scare you? Does it scare you if you can't reach the bottom? For me as a swimmer, it's, I don't worry about what's below me. I worry about the waterline. Got to stay up above the waterline. And it doesn't matter whether I can touch the bottom or I can't touch the bottom. Just got to keep my head above the waterline. But it does freak some people out when the depth of the ocean can really remind you. And of course, the lower you go in the ocean, the darker it gets because the sunlight can't penetrate. And you realize there's a great big world, a universe down there that we don't understand. Whew, that can be scary. Folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to continue our conversation, but we've also got some guests to share with you as well. This is the Experienced Pros Radio Network. We encourage you to call in if you want to join the show, 303-632-4160. And I will be back right after these messages. This is the Experienced Pros Radio Network.
America's home for positive business talk. You're listening to the Experienced Pros Radio Show. Contact them on the web at experiencepros.com.